Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 3 alongside Commissioner Kevin Cook, who serves as vice chair, represents District 2, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1. Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
First item, please.
First item, proclamation presentations. Number 1, presentation regarding recognizing and responding to fraud in government. Lorna McPhail, Audit Finance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lorna McPhail, Audit Finance Internal Auditor. I'm here today to present a presentation on fraud risk in governments. Before I begin, I'd like to inform you the information today being shared was reviewed by a member of Shawnee County Security Council. Audit Finance recently attended a fraud webinar and internal audit joint forum meeting. The webinar was pertaining to recognizing and responding to fraud risk in government. The joint forum meeting consisted of a wide variety of auditing materials covering different types of audits, regulations, procedures, and testing being used. The main the main point stressed throughout both is governments need to have effective programs and controls in place to prevent, detect, and deter fraud. I'm bringing this to your attention so you're aware Audit Finance is taking an active role in protecting Shawnee County from potential fraud risk. We continue to further our education by a variety of sources, which in turn provides us with new techniques and tips to be used. Governments need to be aware of situations that have the potential to create fraud risk. Being aware of situations that have the potential to create these risks is the first step in designing effective programs and controls to prevent, detect, and deter fraud. Some examples they provided of potential warning signs of fraudulent financial reporting are an organizational culture of arrogance and management entitlement, policies that rely too heavily on management's judgments, receivables growing at a faster rate than related revenues, and transactions that lack economic purpose, which may be indicative of kickbacks. What they suggest as a highly effective control and almost no cost control is one of zero tolerance. If the fraudsters are promptly disciplined, employees may be less likely to commit fraud. A positive and open work environment at all levels also helps in preventing, detecting, and deterring fraud. The tone at the top, which is your zero tolerance policy, establishment of a fraud hotline, which repeatedly we are told fraud hotlines are the #1 source of fraud tips. In order for a hotline to be effective, it needs to be provided by an outside source to ensure employees can remain anonymous. We have started researching our options for an outside party to handle a fraud hotline and what the cost would be to be implemented. Also, other ways are timely reconciliation and review of bank statements, cross-reference checks on accounts payable, and surprise visits to off-site locations. I'm proud to say Shawnee County is currently providing most of these techniques on a regular basis. Now that the internal auditor position is full-time, I'm in the process of implementing several procedures that will be expanding the auditing testing to cover multiple areas within each department and the county as a whole. We also have to be aware and acknowledge computer fraud. The most important things that they highlight on computer fraud were the separation and rotation of duties both within and external to the technology function, timely update of accessible computer applications when employees change positions, periodic and surprise inspections and security reviews, and all control policies and procedures are required to have a written procedures. Zero tolerance for deviations from this policy. Several common fraud schemes were covered. Due to time constraints, I won't go into detail on each area, but the misappropriation of assets is your #1 scheme. This can be due to revenue and expense recognition. This can be either premature or delayed recognition. Procurement and contracting. This includes unusual vendor names and addresses, copies of invoices rather than the original, orders for materials already on hand in sufficient quantity, purchases falling just below the threshold required for additional approvals, suppliers receiving significant amounts of business, and prices in excess of market price, especially when large quantities are ordered. Cash receipts and disbursements, property and equipment, unusual inventory turnover, significant inventory shrinkage, stealing of assets, personal cost, claiming extra hours for time not worked, or employees performing work for another position while on the clock for the government organization, and diversion of program benefits and assets, which would be using grant funds or assets for unauthorized purposes. Lack of compliance with grant provisions can result in the recipient having to repay the funds. This can also cause a pressure to use or lose. Multiple analytical procedures were provided as examples in detecting the misappropriation of assets. Audit will be implementing many of these into a regular auditing schedule. We learned there tends to be 3 primary fraud risks in government organizations. They are incentive or pressure, opportunity, and rationalization or attitude. The existence of all 3 of these conditions may indicate the risk of fraud. However, it's not necessary that any or all of these conditions be present to conclude a fraud risk exists. There's a tremendous pressure on employees to provide more and better quality services using less financial, human, and capital resources, while officials are reluctant to increase taxes and departments are under the pressure not to exceed their budgeted expenditures. Opportunity is best explained as a lack of financial funding to attract qualified personnel, resulting in a lack of or ineffective internal controls, and creates an opportunity for fraud. In addition, employees may work all hours and all days of the week. Internal controls may be missing to address these situations. The third risk is rationalization or attitude. This is present due to the fact that government employees are often paid less than the counterparts in the private sector. Some rationalize the misappropriation of physical assets as a compensation for their lower salaries. These may not result in misstatements on financial amounts. However, they are violations of the public trust and serve as a measure of accountability. They tend to have that "they owe me" attitude. Auditors are required to maintain professional skepticism throughout an audit in order to recognize the possibility that a material misstatement due to fraud could exist. This is an attitude an auditor needs to possess to effectively do their job. The characteristics of professional skepticism are: have a questioning mind to view responses with some sense of doubt, suspension of judgment until appropriate evidence is obtained, searching for knowledge and investigating beyond the obvious and obtaining evidence, and possessing self-direction and moral independence, as well as a conviction to make decisions for oneself, and self-confidence to resist the persuasion and to challenge assumptions. We concluded our class with an overview of the considerations an auditor needs to include in their audits. Some of the considerations that apply to our audit department are: maintaining professional skepticism throughout the audit, brainstorming how and where fraud may be susceptible, performing risk assessment procedures and related activities to identify risk or misstatements of fraud, interviews, inquiring with management to determine their views about risk fraud and if they have any knowledge or actual suspected or alleged fraud, evaluating unusual and unexpected relationships that could indicate the risk of fraud, considering whether any other information obtained indicated risk of material misstatements due to fraud, evaluating the audit evidence obtained to determine if there are misstatements, communicating the identified or suspected fraud to management and those charged with governance, and then documenting the whole process of the audit. And then, if applicable, concluding there is no risk of misstatement or fraud related to the audit. One interesting fact that I thought I would share with you that you might be interested is, according to a survey done by Ernst & Young in 2003, 20% of all American workers are personally aware of fraud in the workplace. They estimate that employers lost 20% of every dollar to some type of workplace fraud. The types of fraud that they are aware of are theft of office items, claiming extra hours worked, expense accounts, and taking kickbacks from suppliers. As I mentioned earlier, a couple of us from audit attended an internal auditors joint forum meeting recently. Several guest speakers presented a multitude of auditing information. These next few slides will provide a high-level overview of what was discussed that pertained to the county. Several beneficial tips were given during the fraud auditing presentation. The steps to perform a fraud audit include your initial allegation. Once again, the majority of fraud allegations are reported on a fraud hotline. Next are the legal considerations, whether internal audit will be handling this or if this is something you're going to turn over to the authorities. Obtaining your evidence. Once again, you need to make sure that the tipster can remain anonymous during the audit. Make sure that there is a resolution stating IT systems belong to the county and are being used for county business only. This allows for searches of computers and workspaces if needed. Document the examination. Analytical procedures were noted that would be beneficial for the county to implement on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. Interviews. Interviewing not only other employees of the department, but department heads and the tipster. Preparation of the report, and a quote that was given by us by the presenter, Craig Green, is fraud usually happens due to a lack of people paying attention. For informational purposes, I thought it'd be interesting to share with you, these are the typical embezzler characteristics that were given to us. It's usually a trusted employee. It's usually someone dedicated and often works long hours. They dislike mandatory vacation policies. They resent cross-training. They're seen as likable and generous, and deceptive and usually an adept liar. Lastly, we were introduced to the art of deception. What is the core of every fraud? Occupational and financial fraud involves the same basic component, deception. An occupational fraud is defined as an employee that misuses or abuses their position for their own enrichment and for the misuse of company assets. We learned what deception is, the types of deception, can we spot it in others, difference between lies and clues, and how to read body language and expressions, and what are some clues to look for. The deceptor tends to use rationalization for their actions. The most common are unfair treatment, inadequate recognition, financial problems, revenge, and family problems, sorry. All of the topics discussed today reiterates the importance of needing to be aware of where fraud can occur and how important it is that internal controls are being monitored on a regular basis. With that being said, I'm currently in the process of creating a standard auditing schedule with multiple types of testing and procedures that will be run on a regular basis. Not only will we be checking to make sure internal controls are in place, but also to help deter fraud from taking place. It is important for me to make sure everyone understands the role of an internal auditor. The biggest misconception is that the auditor's primary responsibility in an audit is the detection of fraud. Our work is designed to achieve reasonable level of assurance. In other words, a sampling approach is taken. In essence, this means we are checking that the right issues are covered in an audit, verifying what the internal controls are in place for each issue, then checking the data recorded as evidence to support those internal controls. It's impossible to check absolutely everything, and this would not be cost effective. Therefore, we check a sample to achieve reasonable assurance of any significant error or misappropriation of assets. So, any questions?
I have one quick question, and thank you, Lauren, good presentation. I don't believe that Shawnee County currently has a fraud hotline, but we're looking into obtaining one and then publicizing that throughout the county. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, very thorough, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. I would note that we do have an efficiency hotline. If you believe there's waste in government, you have a hotline, but we do not have a fraud hotline, so I look forward to having that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, there are vouchers this morning that total $521,982.83. The highlights from today's vouchers would be payments by the court for jurors for cases that have been ongoing, payments to the Department of Corrections for Horizon Healthcare for our inmates, the IT's expenditure for the Elvis system, which is for the elections office, and then solid waste had expenditures for purchase of a new vehicle. And those highlights total up to $298,514.80. I do not see any issues with the vouchers. I would move for their approval.
A second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers as presented by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no, and the motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the correction orders by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. That motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Planning Department, number 1, consider approval to accept public dedications appearing on the final plat for the Fair Lodge subdivision located at 3010 Northwest 62nd Street.
Barry Beagle, Shawnee County Planning Department. Flare Log subdivision is a one-lot commercial subdivision located at 3010 Northwest 62nd Street. This property was recently reclassified to the PUD, Planned Unit Development District. The plat coincides with that area that was rezoned. This completes the necessary steps to permit the full utilization of the property.
Questions or comments for Mr. Beagle?
No. Motion to approve the final, public dedication in plat.
I'll second, but Barry, just to note, this was a unanimous vote by the planning commission, and there were no objections publicly, or?
Correct.
Okay. Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B2, consider approval to accept public dedication appearing on the final plat of RAL subdivision number 1 located at 5946 Northwest 46th Street.
The subject property was recently split off from an adjoining tract of land, resulting in this parcel having less than 200 feet of frontage, which is our plat exemption requirement. So as a result, to make it compliant, the applicant did seek its platting as a one-lot residential subdivision. It did appear before the Planning Commission, was recommended for approval, and the plat is before you for acceptance of public dedications.
Questions or comments?
None. I would move approval of the final, public dedication appearing on the final plat, also noting that there was no objection made at the hearing on December the 8th.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Beagle. Next item.
Item C, Court Administration, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-460-2014 with Beach Glen for annual maintenance of hardware and software for the court's legacy HP 3000 in an amount of $15,050.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kathy Lenhart, Court Administration. This first item with Beach Glen, this has been an annual maintenance agreement. We hope this may be the last year, as we should be able to retire our legacy system in another year. So I would request your consideration of that.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
The second item, I'm sorry, reads.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of the following contracts. A, contract C-461-2014 with the Kansas Children's Service League to provide services to children, adolescents ages 10 to 18, and their families involved with law enforcement, and referred to juvenile juvenile intake and assessment as a result of the child's or their family's high-risk behavior for an amount of $15,779 in 2015.
Any questions regarding that contract?
Let me read the second one. They have
You
the
wanna do them
hits, yeah, let me
same?
read.
Okay.
Can I read both?
I just need to sit back and wait
Yeah.
here, don't I? Just calm down.
Item 2B, contract C-462-2014 with court-appointed special advocates to provide services to children from birth to age 18, identified by the court as needing advocacy services while part of a child in need of care case for an amount of $54,900 in 2015.
Now, questions,
Your
please.
turn.
I've got a question.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bueller.
Kathy, these are included in your budget for 2015. They've already been
Yes.
considered. These are just the contracts.
Yes,
putting them in
this
place.
is the formal agreement. The money was actually approved as part of our
Right.
budget.
Okay.
Commissioner Cook.
I wholeheartedly accept the contracts and make a motion to approve them. The work that's done by KCSL as well as CASA is invaluable to our children in the community.
Exactly. I'll second.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider emergency purchase of and payment of invoice from Samco in an amount of $5,415.62 for repairs to the boiler that serves the Manor Conference Center.
Good morning, excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Rec. I think the memo explains it pretty well. The boiler needed to be repaired at the Manor Conference Center. Staff got that repaired immediately, and we're asking for your payment of that invoice.
Questions for Mr. Knight?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. And that motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item D2, consider approval to pay an invoice in the amount of $1,875 to Dean Carson for a webmaster for Highland Park Baseball Leagues.
Commissioners, this item is, we contract with the Highland Park Baseball Association to run our leagues out there. Contract language says that they have to come to us with the department with approved services that they'd be reimbursed for. This is one of those. It's underneath the purchasing guidelines. Mr. Carson performed the services, performed them very good. Wasn't specifically spelled out in the contract, so the clearest method was to put this before you guys and let you have approval.
Questions? I'll make a motion to pay the invoice as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Archer and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next item.
Item E, Sheriff's Office. Number 1, acknowledge receipt of correspondence from Sheriff Jones regarding the purchase of an over-the-air Diagnostic X, a device used to monitor and identify radios on the P25 radio system that are not operating properly at a cost of $47,578 from Motorola through the State of Kansas contract.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lance Royer with the Sheriff's Office. You're all aware we purchased a brand-new radio system. We spent about $12 million on that radio system. Basically, the units that talk on the radio system, the portables on our hips and the mobiles in our cars, they're called subscribers. It's basically a great big computer network now. So these are little computers on our hips and in the car, and they have a tendency to go out of frequency. So what this device does, it allows this device to kind of snoop the network, and as people talk on the radios, it'll give us a report that say, hey, this radio's out of kilter. It isn't meeting the FCC specs. So what that allows us to do is not have to bring in every radio that's on our system once a year and test it. That's about a savings, about 500 to 1,000 hours. If you add that up with our radio shop, it's about a savings between $15,000 to $30,000 a year. So yes, this is a very expensive piece of equipment, but in the long run, it'll save us money.
And the life expectancy of the equipment is?
Don't have an idea for that. We're looking at our system for at least 10 to 15 years, so we're guessing this piece of equipment will be there for that 10 or 15 years.
Okay, so it pays back in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think so.
Questions?
I don't know that I have any. Thank you very much for coming and explaining this expenditure.
It's appreciated,
Okay,
yes.
to the question. So this is the purchase of the equipment, but there's no membership or anything like that that follows up?
That's correct.
This is all inclusive?
This is all inclusive.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Question.
I'll move approval of the request.
I don't know that it
Actually,
doesn't need approval. It
No,
just
it's
acknowledgement.
Acknowledge
So-
receipt.
Acknowledge the receipt.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll give you a quick update on the radio system.
Please do.
We have accepted the final acceptance from Motorola. We sat down last week, it might have been 2 weeks ago now, with Motorola. We sat down, we went over the entire system. I've got a couple punch list things, but for the most part, we did sign the final acceptance. They did send us the final bill, $2.1 million, which I think we sent it over to Audit Finance just this week yet. So you'll probably be seeing that very soon. But very happy with Motorola. They've been over backwards with us. There were some hiccups in the issues that neither one of us planned, and Motorola came through. One of the issues was, one of our requirements is we wanted any talk group on our system to be recorded. The recorder that they put on the system would only accept 100 talk groups. We have about 150, so they gave us $150,000 recorder. Didn't budge about that. So they've really bent over backwards. Motorola did a great job for us. So we have taken final acceptance of the $12 million radio system, and as soon as we make that final payment, it'll be kind of ours until we pay off the bond. So
Would you talk a little bit about all the people that are using it, the scope of the project? I mean, it was huge.
Sure.
And massive.
we purchased roughly 1,600 new radios for Topeka Police Department, Topeka Fire Department, the 7 rural fire departments, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. All of those agencies had radios that they were using. Some of them could be used on the new system. Majority of them couldn't. Those radios that could be used on the new system, we have repurposed those. Just recently, we pushed out about 100 to the Parks and Rec Department, a little less than 100. Right after the first year, we're going to be pushing out about 300 to Shawnee County DOC. We'll get them moved over. The library is moving over to our system. City buses on our system, AMRs on our system, Public Works, Solid Waste. The list just goes on and on.
Okay.
The school districts, the rural county school districts, all the law enforcement officers there are on it. So the list goes on, and as we find other systems that government is paying for, we're talking to them, because Shawnee County owns a system big enough for all of us, and they don't need to be paying extra money to companies to manage a radio system. We've got it.
So that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Commissioners? Yes, Commissioner.
Emergency management on that system?
Yes, they are. I left them out. Sorry,
That would
Dave,
be
I left
good.
you out, but they are there. AMCOM, our amateur radio club, that's kind of our backup communications there, going to get their radios programs just in the next few weeks. 501 school district, they're on it, the police force. So.
Well, and you've been keeping us up to date on an email, and so I appreciate that. But I am going to a rural fire department dinner tonight, so everything working with rural fire.
The one issue we're still having in one of those punch lists is
Yeah.
paging, rural fire paging. We have an issue. We think there's a little bit of interference. The old system, we really had 2 towers. We had to choose which towers. There was a lot of lack of coverage. Right now, we've got a lot more coverage because all of the towers, all 6 of the towers, actually transmit for the paging. But we think there's a little bit of overlapping, and they're kind of losing some of their signals. So that might be the only complaint that I know of that you're going to get on from the rural fire guys.
Okay,
But we're working on it. So.
All right. Very good.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Commissioner.
again, Lance. Next item, please.
Item F, Information Technology. Number 1, consider approval to fill an application developer 1 position at a salary of $57,257, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Oblein with the Information Technology Department. Several meetings ago, the Commissioners approved a reorganization of the IT department. One of the elements of that was the creation of an application developer 1 position. We have advertised for that position and interviewed for it, and we would like to go ahead and fill that with, offer the position to an individual that we feel is very well qualified for that. The individual that we've selected for the position actually has gone through what we call an internship position with the IT department. We had a 3-month interval where this individual came in and spent some time working with actual projects within the IT department, and gave us a chance to look them over, and they got a chance to look Shawnee County over. And we feel that this is an individual that would really be a good fit for our organization. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions or comments for Mr. Oaklander?
I know that Pat's briefed me on this in the past, and I'm well aware of this, and so I would move approval of the request to fill that application developer to that position.
One position.
I will second, but noting this doesn't require any more additional funding.
That is correct.
It's within your budget for 14 and
The funding that would be
15
used to provide for this position is included in the amounts that have been allocated by the Commission for 2015 and for 2014 as well.
Okay. Thank you. Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Pat. Next
Thank you,
item.
Commissioners.
Item G, Public Works. Number 1, consider approval of payment of an invoice from the Kansas Association of Counties in an amount of $390 to assist in funding of the KAC Local Road Engineer Service Program.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Blanc of Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item. The Kansas Association of Counties has a position called a local road engineer, actually a service program that provide, and they have a staff member who has served as a county engineer in several jurisdictions throughout his career. They have created this position several years ago, in which this staff person investigates a lot of legislative issues that regards to county roads, provides a lot of expertise and issues that may come up regarding traffic signage, or just there as a sounding board if things come up that county engineers across the state are not aware of. And he provides all that information when he gets inquiries like that to everyone that's involved, and then also provides a bi-monthly newsletter. It's been my opinion that this service that they provide for the nominal fee that they charge this year, $390, is well worth what we get out of it. And if you were at the annual township luncheon this year, Norm Bowers is the person that serves in that position. He is the local road engineer, and I think you got a taste of what his knowledge is in this aspect. So with that, I'd recommend that this be approved, and we help fund that position.
Motion to approve the expenditure of the funds for the county's local road engineer service.
I'll second, but I just have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner.
Tom, if you could explore with Norm, I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge on local roads, but just explore with him how we could maybe work more closely throughout the year with the townships and with their boards in helping understand. Again, I'm gonna say this, I continue to get a lot of phone calls about township roads and people thinking that they're county roads.
Yes.
We don't set the mill levy for the townships. The township board, those 3 elected people set that mill levy. It comes through the county and then it's dispersed out, but they set those budgets. So again, just if you could talk with Norm and explore that, I think that might be
I sure can,
helpful.
and I do know
Share his
he-
newsletter or
Yeah.
something.
I do know he offers, his newsletter is just done by email. And so he has offered that to townships to just get on his email list, and he would
Good.
send it out to them. So I can certainly contact him and
Okay.
see if he'd be willing to put something in it
Yeah, thank you.
that would talk about that issue.
I
Ex-
second.
Excellent
I
point.
second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item G2, consider approval of resolution numbers 2014-112 through 2014-114, authorizing the transfer of unobligated Public Works operating budget funds into the Special Bridge Fund account, the Special Road and Bridge Machinery or Equipment Fund, and the Special Highway Improvement Fund.
Commissioners, this is the annual request. State statute allows county commissions to authorize a transfer of any unobligated funds from a public works budget, up to 25% of a public works budget, to be transferred into these special funds. And what we have done at Public Works is, with our bridge department, we typically budget a very skeletal type budget, and we utilize excess funds, primarily any excess funds we have from 1 year's operating budget to help fund a good portion of the work we do for the bridge department in our culvert replacement program the following year. The reason we have done that is when I know I've got a skeletal budget, and knowing I'm really funding the culvert replacement program with any unobligated funds, excess funds, it really makes us be very cognizant of what we spend throughout the year, because I know I've basically got to fund next year's culvert replacement program with any excess funds. So that is what we've done in the past, and I guess it's one philosophy, whether you agree or disagree, but for me, it really makes us scrutinize purchases that we make throughout the year. I've discussed this with Audit Finance. They have been accounting, if this transfer occurs, then Public Works ending budget balance will be zero at the end of the year. And Audit Finance has been aware of that we've done this throughout the years, and they've accounted for that in their financial presentations when they do it on a monthly basis. They've been accounting, I wanna make sure I'm correct. I don't wanna put words in her mouth, but that's, but, so she's been accounting for that. Betty's been accounting for that in her financial projections at the end of the year. So doing this will not affect the financial projections that have been occurring throughout the year. And, so anyway, that is what the request is again, to allow at the end of the year to work with Audit Finance to transfer any unobligated funds that were not spent this year into these special accounts so we can use them in the next year, the coming years, depending on which fund we put them into. So if there's any questions regarding this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions, Commissioner Bueller?
No, I have none.
Okay.
And move approval of the resolutions, or adopt the resolutions.
I second that motion.
Motion made to approve the resolutions as presented by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item G3, consider approval of a project budget of $45,000 for the Shawnee County Solid Waste Department's locker room upgrades and approval of request to waive the normal bidding process and issue a request for qualifications to general contractors to provide upgrade remodel services.
Commissioners, this is, as mentioned, is a solid waste item. In our solid waste department, primarily our collection staff are males. But we do have a few females that are working our collection routes, and the locker room facilities for our females, in my opinion, is just really inadequate. And we need to upgrade them to have proper facilities to change when they get back from their routes and things of that nature. There is a locker room, but it's just, honestly, it's unusable. So what I would like to do is use solid waste funds, again, which are not tax funds, they were user fees, but to upgrade those facilities. And then while we're there, the men's locker room needs to be repainted, I think some ventilation work, minor work. But what we'd like to do is to get authorization to submit, or not submit, but receive statements of qualifications from local contractors who can do this type of remodeling work, make a selection, and then come to work out an agreement with this future contractor to do the upgrades to the locker rooms. As mentioned, the estimated cost, the budget would be around $45,000, and it would come from solid waste funds. So if there's any questions regarding this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Long overdue, and I wholeheartedly make the motion to approve this.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item G4, consider approval of request to fill a soon-to-be vacated mechanic position in the amount of $45,359 and any subsequent openings that may result upon the filling of this position.
Commissioners, I would just inform earlier this week that one of our mechanics in the Public Works Department is going to be retiring as of January 9th, and we would like to refill that position. And if it's filled by a current Public Works employee or other county employee or solid waste employee, we would like to backfill that position also. We would like to just start to advertise it since we know when he's going to be retiring. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions?
Tom, how long had the mechanic been with the county, do you know?
I believe he's been here 10 years, maybe a little over 10 years. He had come from the railroad, Burlington Northern. I think he'd worked there prior for about 25, and I think he put in 10 or so here at the county.
Okay. I appreciate that. I would make a motion to fill that mechanic's position.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
If you don't mind, I would like to relay one comment to me as we were speaking when he gave me his retirement notice, he did say that it was his opinion that of all the places he had worked in the past, he felt Shawnee County was by far the best place he'd ever worked. So I thought that was pretty nice words to hear.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item H, elections. Number 1, consider approval of request to encumber $74,519.41 from the 2014 election office budget for the acquisition of furniture for the new county building at 3420 Southwest Van Buren, and to purchase furniture from Designed Business Interiors through the state contract.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Howell, Shawnee County Election Commissioner. The plan that we've been working on, we've gone through several times. We've reduced some costs. We've got it down to where we think it's fairly definitive as to what we really need to accomplish our tasks there. The source for the funding is the 2014 budget, and this would help us wrap up the building project and kind of get through the rest of the move and the move planning process. So, any questions you have, I'll try to answer those.
Well, first I want to thank you and Mark for providing a plan to move, that it's a checklist or what have you, and the things that need to be done, the time they're going to be done, and then who's responsible for that. So I think that was well done and systematic in nature, and I appreciate that, Andrew. Any questions or comments?
If I may.
No, of course.
I understand that we're encumbering $74,519.41, and this is, in essence, money that is left over in your budget from 2014. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to spend $74,519.41. It may be less, it may be more.
It may be a little bit less than that. Brandy?
Betty Griner, Financial Administrator. In order to encumber these funds, there will actually be a purchase made. So this furniture will actually be ordered by the end of the year.
Okay.
So there will actually be a purchase of this. I think this is pretty much a solid amount of the items that will be purchased. Now, there could be a little bit of difference in shipping costs and that type of thing. Is that correct?
My understanding is, I mean, like I said, we have gone through it and tried to pare it down the best we can. We do expect to spend that exact amount. So it could be less than that, but we certainly wanted to have the authority to spend that much.
Commissioner
And-
Bueller?
Thank you, and that's off the state contract.
And that is off the negotiated state contract, so we
Okay.
know that that's,
And I know you've shared it with us, your timeline, but
Certainly.
could you share just briefly, moving time?
sure. One of the challenges for us, we have rolling files, we have a lot of things, I have over 105,000 different registration records that have to be coordinated with the computer systems. We are entering registrations every day. We're dealing with the proof of citizenship issues each day for each voter. We have 2 elections coming up. We have the primary election coming up in March. We also have the city general election coming up in April. So there's a lot of critical things that have to happen at very specific times. I think we're all still waiting to see how the actual contractor wrap-up work gets done. That's been a little bit of a challenge with the weather. So there's some things that may get moved around a little bit, but we're trying to work through those issues. The final wrap-up, the final installation of carpet, some of those issues that all have to be coordinated with moving major pieces of furniture from one location to another. At the same time, you're trying to accomplish all the different, keeping track of things. We certainly don't want any more headlines about registrations, not being correct. So we're working diligently to make sure that does not occur.
Thank you very much.
Did you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure of the amount requested.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you,
Thanks.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item I, Health Agency. Number 1, consider approval of request to change the name of a child care learning team leader position from a range 27 to a range 28 with a total salary, including benefits, of $81,113.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. As stated in the request, we're asking to reallocate a child care licensing team leader from a range 27 to a range 28. We're requesting this change because we've done a comparison of other team leaders that have like responsibilities and duties, and all of them are on a pay range 28, so we're asking if we can go ahead and move this final one over. And this is something that would be incorporated into our 2015 budget. It's already accounted for. It would be $3,576 is the cost of a year for that change. And we would make this change effective on December 27th.
Both questions.
Commissioner Cook.
When you say you made comparisons, is that comparisons within Shawnee County or comparisons across the state of Kansas?
Comparisons within the health agency only.
The Shawnee County Health Agency?
Correct.
And how many
Correct.
people does this person supervise?
She is supervising 3 people. She's required to have a degree. She's got to have 1 year experience, which is the same as the other levels of supervisors.
And so the other levels of supervisors are being paid at range 28, and she's being paid at range 27.
Correct.
And what created the difference between the two?
The difference between the two
I mean,
range.
why, when they were moved up to range 28, why wasn't she moved up?
You know, historically, I can't really go back and tell you. I don't know definitively where those changes have come about. I do know since I've been with the health agency, we have done some reallocation of our dietitians. Those were mastered level prepared folks that we have changed their classification. We've also done the same thing with social workers. So how everybody got set up in the beginning, I really can't explain that, but I do know we're taking every step to make sure that everybody's being treated the same way.
And when you asked for it to be effective December 27th, is that December 27th of 2014?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's a recommendation of Human Resources.
All the questions I had.
I don't have any. I'll move approval of the request.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
Yes,
I wonder if we might have Allison brief us on the Heartland Healthy Neighborhood meeting yesterday.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yesterday, we have, first off, Heartland Healthy Neighborhood is a coalition of multiple members, different organizations in the community that have come together to really look at ways to increase the health of our community. And we have been doing some very good work over the last year. We have been able to take the information and data that we've identified through our community health assessment. We've been able to take that and identify priorities to work on so that we can develop a community health improvement plan. And so over the last year, we've had different committees that have been working very hard to identify ways to improve areas such as we're working on healthy babies, so we're trying to decrease infant mortality in Shawnee County. We're looking to decrease obesity rates in Shawnee County, increase physical activity, so we've got a group that's working on healthy eating and active living. We are also working with access. We've got a huge need for the community to understand better how to access services, what those services are that are available, and how to get people transported to and from services. So there's a group working on that. And finally, we've got a group that's working on complete streets. So we're trying to make roadways accessible for all users of all abilities, different modes of transportation. So we've got some really good things going on. And yesterday we had a advisory committee meeting, and so we had lots of executive directors, administrators, CEOs of the different organizations in the community, elected officials that attended to hear about the work we've been doing over the last year. All the work we've been doing is going to result in our written community health improvement plan, and that is in process right now. But the group will continue to work in 2015 to really move into that action phase of what they're going to do with all the different goals, objectives, and strategies that they've identified. So it was really a way for us to share and show some appreciation for the work and the time that people were allowed to participate.
Thank you. I know Commissioner Archer, you had an opportunity to attend, and I know the Kansas Health Foundation, Steve Cohen, their president, was there as well, and this group has received some technical assistance to help in the community change model and education, mobilization, all those sorts of things. So I just wanted to say publicly thank you for your work on this. I know Tara had a lot of help,
lot,
but
yes.
you are leading the charge as well, so
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And I did have the opportunity to go yesterday, and I got a sense of energy and sort of a renewed sense of purpose
Mhm.
in that meeting for Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods, and it was very encouraging to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item J, Human Resources, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2014-115, settling the wage impasse with the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 3, and contract C-463, 2014, a one-year contract that contains all contractual provisions that were negotiated and agreed upon between both parties, plus the Commissioner's decision regarding staffing and wages for 2015.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Thomas, Director of Human Resources. This is a culmination of the meet and confer process of the Fraternal Order of Police for 2015. As you recall, we had a presentation by the FOP representatives and county staff on November 24th. This final resolution is a mixture between the items that we did agree to at the table and the two items that we were at impasse. The two unilateral sections, they include removing the warrants from the pure seniority bid system and make it a selection process. It also provides for a step increase on the first occurrence of the employee's anniversary date during the 2015 payroll year. This is effective only for payroll year 2015, and I will try to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from Mr. Thummel?
Commissioner Archer, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
Mr. Thummel, if we could, on page 2 of the resolution, when it refers to the staffing, removal of the warrants, what is the thought process on behalf of management that we would remove warrants from being based on seniority?
I believe Major probably would be much better well-versed in that to talk about that particular subject than I would. The Major Bloom will be able to take this on.
Hello, Commission. Major Bloom, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. The thought process behind that, Commissioner Cook, is warrants is a very involved unit, critical in a lot of court decisions, highly volatile, potential for litigation and great concerns there. We feel it is probably one of those highly specialized units similar to our drug enforcement unit, where we want the opportunity for the skill level of all our people to be the opportunity to put in for that position, not just be the seniority based only. So we want a broader range for that particular unit. Feel the importance for our agency and having the most skilled people for that. That's why we've chosen that route.
How long has it been based on seniority?
That would be a little different. I'd have to do a little research on that. We're going back many, many years that certain units have been solely seniority based. Other units in the agency have been somewhat on a specialty.
Would it be fair to say then it's been based on seniority for a exceptionally long period of time?
It has been a period of time. That would be correct.
Okay. And what has prompted the change now? Is there some upcoming concern? Has there been some development amongst warrants that has necessitated this change?
Some of the process would be in terms of management and the view of it, and in terms of obviously the changes in our management positions and the just overall our command staff and the way we evaluate things. I can tell you command staffs in the past may have looked at it a little differently. There's concern, I can tell you from my time being in the command staff position, I consider the importance of having the most skilled, best trained people in our agency in certain positions, and the warrants is one of those where we need to have the best quality candidate available for those positions. There's a lot of demand for those individuals to make very critical decisions. We're talking Fourth Amendment issues that they have to pretty much make those on the fly. So we want the most skilled people in that as opposed to just making it just a seniority base. That is not to imply that someone who is most senior is not the most qualified. We just feel that it is important to have everyone that is eligible for that position have the opportunity to put in for those positions.
And if I understand how the system works presently, warrants and several other divisions, it's based on if the position becomes available, if you have seniority, you would be picked above other individuals.
In some of our positions now, and the way it is written now, that is correct.
Okay. And this now changes it where the sheriff would decide who goes into warrants and who doesn't, regardless of seniority.
Based on the factors that are still contractually bound to the sheriff on that. It wouldn't just be arbitrarily anyone. There are some provisions in the contract that does allow, there are some parameters in which the sheriff would have to follow as well.
But that opening would no longer be based on,
It simply would not just be seniority only.
I think that answers the questions that I had regarding that section. I also did have a question regarding the step increase effective date, and I think that question was to Mr. Thummel.
Major Bloom was on the negotiating team, so.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Betcha.
Mr. Thummel, as we look at the date of the, I think it's page 3, where you've outlined that,
Page
going,
3 of the agreement, or the MOU.
actually, I'm sorry, it goes on to page 4. And carries over to page 5. The date of the effective change for a step employee is when?
Anniversary date.
Okay.
Did that,
And after, I know that for the public's information, this is an item that we've had extensive, multiple executive sessions regarding. It went through negotiations, it came to impasse, there was a presentation made, the commissions discussed it in executive session, so this isn't the first time we suddenly came upon this issue. But just to talk about this anniversary date, we are going to have deputies whose anniversary date is at the last pay period of 2015. And we have a deputy that I know specifically who will receive a 12-cent increase from one step to the other. So that deputy's pay raise for 2015 is 12 cents per hour for that final pay period. Why not make this effective on January 1, just as we did for the health department? We just approved a step increase for the health department effective January 1, so they would have that benefit for the whole year. Why are we applying a different logic for one than we are for the other?
it's actually not a different logic. That's a different scenario since that's a reallocation. And the step increases for the health agency, both inside the bargaining unit and outside the bargaining unit, occur on the first occurrence and since there's 27 pay periods, on the first, the payroll year 2015, on the first occurrence of the employee's anniversary date, just like we've done it all these years that I've been here, and that's only, I guess that's only 13 years, but this is the same way we've done it every other time. The employee's anniversary date is a little unique in this section, in this particular bargaining unit, because even if you get promoted to corporal, you have something called an anniversary date 2, where you actually can move from Corporal 1 to Corporal 2 and get 2 step increases during the year. But your original anniversary date when you were put into a patrol, the sheriff deputy classification, does not change as long as you're inside the bargaining unit. And that's when you've received your step increase all along here.
But would you agree with me that if a deputy's anniversary date is at the very last pay period of 2015, they will not see any benefit till the very end?
Yes, we have many people like that.
Okay. Commissioners, I know this is a resolution that's sponsored by you, Commissioner Archer. I would ask that we make a amendment to the resolution to make the effective date January 1 or December 27th, since that's what we just did, so that it would take effect on January 1 of 2015 for this contract. And that's a motion that I've made.
Well, the first pay period of the year started December 13th of this year. So if you're going to start about the first pay period of the year, it would be on December 13th. The last pay period, the 27th pay period, actually no one would receive a step increase on that time, during that period, since everybody would have already received them during this year. So I just so I'm clear, you're wanting the step increases only on January 1 December 27th for all employees.
Let me just, for formality's sake, my motion is to make a step increase effective January 1, 2015 for all members under this bargaining unit. And that is my motion.
Motion made to make this effective January 1. I don't hear a second.
Well, and I also have some follow-up questions, but we've pretty much finished the negotiations for
Yeah.
every other bargaining unit, and that's been standard, as you have said, Mr. Thummel, that the anniversary date is when you receive that increased compensation. So financially, then, how does that impact those figures? Because it makes a difference.
Well, and that's what I wanted to bring up too. Generally, all of our step increases, whether it's a bargaining unit, scaled employees, all of our step increases are as of the anniversary date of that. And that's how we have budgeted that. Any percentage increases are generally as of maybe January 1 or a set date. But generally speaking, all step increases are on that employee's anniversary date, the anniversary from when they were hired generally. And that is how it has been budgeted right now for 2015. So I just wanted you to understand that.
And I can understand Commissioner Cook wanted to do that. I think at this point, it's sort of a late date. Now, this is maybe something we want to consider for 2016, along with other things, but
And
I can't second this
And I
motion.
guess, Commissioners, what we're saying is, for that deputy that has a 12-cent increase at the tail end of the year, 8 hours, 12 cents is 96 cents. There's the raise,
Oh,
$1.
But Commissioner Cook, if someone started on December the 15th, then they would get an automatic raise within 2 weeks. So, I mean, you can look at a lot of individual scenarios and make a case for one or the other.
But when we look, we did not apply that same logic, though. The health agency came and asked for that. We said we have somebody that we want to move from one step to the other. I know it's a reallocation, but in essence, it does the exact same thing. Their job duties didn't change. Their job title didn't change. It was, we just noticed that they should have been on step 28, and they were on step 27. We want to bring them up to, and we want to make it effective. And so we've done one thing now for one group and another for another, and that's not equitable.
Is there a
No,
second for the
no,
motion?
there's no second, and I agree with you, Commissioner Archer, it's a little bit late, I think, to have this discussion. I think when we're considering percentage increases and step increases going into 2016, this is something that I'll take into consideration. But at this point in time, when we've done bargaining with all our other units, and I hear what you're saying about the reclassification for that one employee at the health agency, but this is a little different. We've already completed our bargaining with all the other units.
And this has not been discussed in any executive session.
Well,
To be frank with you,
but-
it's sort of a,
But except for, we did discuss this when the presentation was made at the table. We did discuss during executive session when the effective date would take effect. We have, and it was not until after this resolution actually, that I became aware of that deputy, what their circumstances would be. And so when we talk about, I don't believe that it is too late. It's too late once we've made the motion and passed it. Once the board has taken action, then it's too late.
Okay.
But until the board takes action, it's never too late to decide what's the impact on our employees.
motion has been made, and I think it dies for lack of a second. Is there a discussion on the resolution and contract before us? Then I'll make a motion to approve the resolution and contract as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no.
Nay.
Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Cook dissents. Next item.
Item J2, consider approval of resolution number 2014-116 regarding a one-time cash payment of $500 on pay period 14 to certain county employees who have reached the top of their respective pay scales.
Excuse me. Good morning again, Commissioners. This item is a $500 one-time cash payment for all the individuals that have reached the top of their respective scales. It's a variety of different steps depending on which bargaining unit you are in. The payment will take effect mid-year, and the employee must be in pay status from pay period 1 through pay period 14 in order to receive the payment. We pay it as a miscellaneous adjustment through the payroll system. I have visited with the affected union business agents, and they all concur that this is a good, they are pleased with it. Well, maybe not pleased, they're okay with what we've proposed here. This affects about 50 individuals in a variety of different departments and funds. Let's see, I'm sure I hit all my points here. I believe so. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Thomas? Yes, Commissioner. No, Commissioner Dooley, sorry.
And these individuals have not received any increase in compensation.
They
will not.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They're not affected by any pay scale changes,
Right.
nor are they to receive a step increase.
And when will they receive that payment?
The payment would be at the end of pay period 14, so I believe the payday is July 2nd. That's when I think pay period 14 is July 2nd. I think that's what we had decided.
Thank you.
And there's criteria that you have to be active and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And you can't, the way it's listed by employee number and PCN numbers, so if you would change PCNs, more likely you would get an increase, so that's why they're connected together in the resolution.
Okay, very good. Questions, Commissioner Cook?
This does cover all of the employees or some of the employees that are at the top of their scale?
This would cover all the scaled employees that are at the top step.
Okay.
What's your
Move
pleasure?
approval. Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item J3, consider approval of resolution number 2014-117, establishing salaries for all elected officials and unclassified employees.
This is, resolution essentially leaves everyone's compensation the same, except for the people that senior leaders that got raises that we announced earlier. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item K, Commission, number 1, consider appointment of Patricia Dahl to the Community Corrections Advisory Board representing education to fill an unexpired term that ends on June 30th, 2015, but eligible for reappointment at that time.
Discussion?
I have none. Ms. Dahl, I believe, contacted our office. Her qualifications were excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I would move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the appointment by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Commissioners, Tom Block, Public Works and Solid Waste. With next week being the Christmas holiday week, I wanted to announce next week's solid waste collection schedule, in which we will pick up just regular trash and regular recycling. But on Monday, we'll be collecting from our Monday and Tuesday customers. On Tuesday, we'll be picking up for our Wednesday and Thursday customers. And on Wednesday, we'll be collecting for our Friday customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Becky Neosi, Register of Deeds. I just wanted to remind everyone again that our fee structure is changing January 1st, as set by the legislature, so check our website for those fees. And we do have a training today at 1:30 for our private sector partners who file documents with us. So in our office, if you'd like to come. And do check out that website. And I would like to give kudos to the IT department who put a really nice mortgage calculator on the website. We've actually had other counties call us and say, thank you, we're going to use that. And they've asked to link to our website, and so we'll be doing that. So thank you for that. So thanks.
Thank you, Becky.
Morning, Commissioners. Larry Moss, Shawnee County Treasurer. One last reminder, first half taxes are due December the 20th. Obviously, December the 20th is on Friday, so any payments that are postmarked on the 20th or earlier, or any walk-ins on the 22nd on Monday, because we'll be closed on Saturday, we will not apply any penalties or interest. I don't want to encourage anyone to just wait till the 22nd on Monday, but because of it falling on Saturday and we'll be closed, we will waive that interest for 1 day.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Thomas, Director of Human Resources. If folks out there have made a New Year's resolution to find a different job or a new job, we have lots of positions available right now, so we need to start on those New Year's resolutions. You can visit our website at www.snco.us/jobs, and we have a variety of different positions available.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. The last meeting that we had here at the County Commission, we had an item on there that I feel didn't get the, and I'm trying not to sound like a whiner or sour grapes here, but I don't think it got the right amount of public attention. It was regarding the Lake Shawnee Golf Course and Cypress Ridge Golf Course. Over the last 8 to 10 years, there's been a lot of political bullets fired back and forth for operation at the Lake Shawnee course, the Cypress course, all of those type of things. There was a contract on for $324,000. When I read the article, when I saw the newspaper coverage on that, it appeared like Shawnee County just gave $324,000, now go play golf. I think it just deserves some further explanation in that Lake Shawnee and Cypress Ridge Golf Course, no tax dollars go into the operation of that. All this company does is collect the user fees for us, and those user fees far exceed the $324,000. It's basically a $1.1 million operation, those two golf courses, and the expenditures are less than $1.1 million. So I think I didn't want the message to be out there that this wasn't a completely 100+% cost recovery operation. And I think that kind of got lost in my explanation on Monday. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thanks for that clarification, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Yes, we are in administrative communications.
My name is Carol Marple, and I'm a citizen of Shawnee County. I'd like to recap a little bit this morning. We are transferring unused funds to a different diversion fund of the tune of $1,784,307.75. You have approved locker room upgrades for $45,000. You also have approved new furniture for $74,519.41. We have some senior leaders that are going to receive a 2.15% pay raise, but the people that they are supervising, if I understand correctly, took no pay cuts. Is that right?
I'm confused about what your point
Well,
is, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'll get there.
Thank
I'll
you,
get
Carol.
there.
No,
Okay.
You're confusing me.
Okay, well then I'll just continue on. I think we have, Ms. placed our priorities. We've listened about what the deputies, their contract, and the people that are in our county that have reached the top of their pay scale. We are going to give them $500 as a one-time pay whatever. By the time they get done paying the taxes and everything on that, maybe if they stick to the dollar menu, they can probably go to McDonald's. We can't pay our deputies. We're going to give them 12 cents an hour raise. If my math is correct, that's $4.80 a week. $249.60 a year. Now, to me, our deputies have one of the most important jobs in this county, and that is keeping our families safe. They can't do that if there are no deputies in this county. How many deputies have we lost this year? Are we getting applicants? No, very few, because of our pay. You know, we ask these men and women to go put their lives on the line. It's a different job. They don't work 8 to 5. They work Christmas Day. They work New Year's Day. They work all hours, 24/7. And we spent all this money on lockers and furniture, and if you made the 12 cent an hour, if every deputy in this county, which there are approximately 80, and then again you have to figure my math, if you gave them 12 cents an hour raise and every deputy got it, we're talking right at $2,000 a year. And this county cannot afford that. Gee, we just paid $74,000 for new furniture. Our priorities are not right. You want to micromanage Sheriff Jones. You know, he's an elected official. He has a budget to use. You objected to the body cameras, replacing totaled vehicles. If one of our vehicles are totaled in our family, we have to replace it. Wear friendly uniforms. It's time. But you don't ask Doug Kinzinger, who works 80 hours a week, what he's doing. I just am not understanding this at all. But I really do believe we need to get our priorities back in line to what is important.
Anyone else? Anything, Commissioner Bueller?
No.
Commissioner Cook? We wanted to make sure that everyone understood we have a meeting next Monday, but the following week, instead of the Monday meeting on the 29th, we will be meeting on December the 30th, and that will be our final meeting of the year. There was a change from the Monday to the Tuesday, so I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. Next item.
Item 6, executive session.
Don't believe there's a need, so we are adjourned.